My daughter finally stood up to her bully. She defended herself. But my brother and his wife called me a bad parent for praising her. Now they're furious that I didn't apologize. You know that gut-wrenching feeling when your kid is getting absolutely crushed by a bully, and the very people meant to protect them just don't? Well, for us, it didn't just escalate to a punch that shook our world. It ripped our entire family apart, laying bare decades of buried secrets and resentments I never saw coming. This isn't just about a schoolyard fight. It's about what happens when you decide to draw a line in the sand, even if that line cuts right through your own kin. It all started with my daughter, Vivi. She's 13, an amazing kid, but she had this bully. You know the type, related to someone high up in the school district, practically untouchable. We'd had so many issues with this kid harassing her, and honestly, Vivi gets picked on a lot. It was heartbreaking. The public schools, they did absolutely nothing. We were actually in the process of switching her out because we just couldn't take it anymore. But then, this past semester, it got physical. He pushed her. She stumbled back, caught herself. Thankfully, only a few scratches. But I was livid, absolutely furious. The bully got a suspension, sure, but it wasn't his first. He was a repeat offender, and it felt like a slap on the wrist every single time. I tried talking to his parents. Oh, the excuses I heard. The wildest one. They'll probably end up together someday because of how they argue. Can you believe that? I shut that down immediately. I told them, in no uncertain terms, that their son wasn't even to look at my daughter, and the only words out of his mouth to her better be an apology. Their response, well, he got suspended. What else do you want? That's what I was up against. This past summer, Vivi was at a STEM camp. She practically begged me to sign her up. She was so excited. But guess who else showed up? The bully. One afternoon, during an outdoor break, the teacher was completely engrossed in his phone. And right there, in full view of multiple students, the bully pushed Vivi. But this time, she spun around and punched him square in the stomach. He was actually up for suspension from the camp, not the district. But I wasn't waiting. I lodged another formal complaint, and this time, I meant business. I threatened a lawsuit. When I asked Vivi what happened, if she truly defended herself, she looked at me with this fear in her eyes and said he'd threatened to knock her out. My heart just broke. But then it hardened. I looked her in the eyes and said, okay, good job defending yourself. I'm so glad you're okay. Let's go catch a movie and decompress. And we did. I didn't want her to feel an ounce of shame. But then, I told my siblings about it on Father's Day, and that's when things took a turn. My eldest brother, Mark, and his wife, Julie, immediately jumped down my throat. You should never encourage her to fight anyone, they insisted. I argued that I didn't encourage her to fight. I was glad she defended herself when she was scared, and when the person I trusted to watch her wasn't even paying attention. They argued that now she'd think punching people was okay every time her feelings were hurt, and that I was a bad parent for opening that door. It made me second-guess everything. Am I? I mean, if she's in physical danger, I never want her to think she'll get in trouble for defending herself. She's okay now, thankfully. We took a week off, just her and me, to celebrate her. But I want her to grow up safe. Was saying good job really that tough? That's me, a mom, by the way, not a dad. And no, not everyone agreed with Mark and Julie, but enough did, and they were so insistent, it really got to me. The next phase was all about the district. I had formally requested the camera footage of the incident at camp. I followed up relentlessly via email and calls, but it was like hitting a brick wall. They just stonewalled me at every turn. Frustrated, I vented to my best friend, who works in education. She had one simple suggestion that turned everything around. File a police report. That'll put a Bunsen burner under their asses. She was right. The moment I had a copy of that police report for assault, armed with all my past complaints and emails with the school resource officer, I sent it to my contact at the district. It was a miracle. I got a call the same day. A meeting was arranged. And while all this was happening, Vivi and I were just enjoying our time. She hadn't been punished, and honestly, I loved spending that rare free time with her. We saw a movie, went shopping. I work a lot as a single mom, and moments like that are precious, especially with her getting older, making friends, going to camps and sleepovers. I posted some pictures of our fun on my private account, and that's when my brother, Mark, sent me a text. It was long, but the gist was clear. I was spoiling her. She should be punished for fighting, and I was going to raise a criminal. I just told him to mind his business and focus on his own kids. His response? He said, "She's not even really yours." That was it. I lost it. My message back was a torrent of every unsupportive thing he'd ever done, from my husband's death to even when we got married. I told him his opinion on my daughter held no regard for me. And if he and Julie wanted to teach their children to let bullies win, to let people hurt them, then maybe it was time we spent less time around them. We were supposed to go to my sister's birthday party, a big family event. I decided then and there, Vivi and I would skip it. Just to be clear, Vivi isn't biologically my daughter, but she is legally, and in every single way that counts. I adopted her when she was 2, after marrying her father. He passed away when she was 6, and I've had sole custody ever since. Her biological mother isn't in the picture. Since my husband passed, it's just been me and her, a team against the world. The meeting with the district finally happened over Zoom. I went in ready for war, guns blazing, fully prepared to go feral. But honestly, all the legal work I'd been doing had already lit a sufficient fire under their rears. They indirectly asked me not to involve authorities any further. The footage, which they finally found, proved Vivi's story completely. With that evidence, all the complaints I'd filed, and the lawyer's contact info I'd casually sent them, they finally expelled the kid. I was assured he wouldn't be at the school next semester. It was a win, yes, but not enough for me to stop the legal actions. Maybe that makes me the asshole, but screw it. I don't care. Charges are being pressed for assault, armed with that video. It's not life-ruining for him, unless he keeps this pattern of abuse going. My focus then shifted fully to Vivi. I'm looking to get her into a STEM-oriented school. It's her passion right now. It'll be tight financially, but she's so gifted and hardworking. Giving her this chance is worth any inconvenience. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Oh, you sweet summer child. Vivi didn't even know about the meeting. She'd been happily at another camp. But a few days later, she asked me, "Mama, do you think I'm a bad person?" My heart stopped. I asked her why she'd think that. And then she said, "Because Uncle Mark thinks so." My beloved brother's stepson had been texting Vivi. They're actually close. And Mark had been absolutely trashing my daughter, calling her my stray kitten, not real family. That did it. I was done. I was planning a 4th of July barbecue at my place, and I formally uninvited him and Julie. I sent him a text. The way he treated me and Vivi was unacceptable. My duty is to my kid. I couldn't have someone who looked down on her and treated her badly in her home, where she was supposed to be safe. He wasn't a safe person for my child, and so, he wasn't welcome. Mark completely lost his mind on me. So badly, I had to mute his number just to get some peace. He started with the put-downs and insults, then went straight for Vivi. He called her some truly terrible things, then said I was brain dead for keeping my stray after all the trouble she's made. I just asked him, "Wow, what is your problem with her, really? You're doing the absolute most to hate a literal child. How does a grown man get off hating a child?" He just told me to F off. So, I sent screenshots to Mom. Yeah, I tattled. I'm a grown woman, and I don't give a damn anymore. Screw this guy. He's my brother, I love him, but I do not like him. And if he's going to show his whole ass like that, I might as well fetch Mom so she can pull his stick out of it. Vivi and I went out for pizza that night. He better be glad it was our mom, not me, who was about to hand him his hind tonight. I was going to talk to Vivi about the school, and sadly, about her uncle and aunt being, well, liquid shits. We are a team, Vivi and I, against the world. I will always have her back. Oh, and guess what? We're taking Krav Maga lessons together. With the bully dealt with, I thought this was my final update, but it was just the beginning. A couple of days later, Mark, and by proxy Julie, truly doubled down. After Mark's text storm about Vivi, I told him to stick it where the sun don't shine. Vivi might not be biologically mine, but I've known her since she was 1, been her mom ever since. I married her father, legally adopted her. She's only ever called me Mama. When her dad passed, it became me and her against the world, the dynamic duo. They continued their tirade about Vivi growing up to be a criminal. Julie, his wife, even chimed in, saying she was concerned because single-parent households produce angry and bottled-up children who are far more likely to end up in jail. I never asked for their opinions, and most of my other siblings agreed with me. But Mark wasn't done. He kept texting me vile things about Vivi, And his stepson even sent Vivi screenshots and videos of Mark calling her that stray kitten again. I uninvited him from my 4th of July barbecue, told him he wasn't to talk to, or even look at, my child until he fixed his attitude. And he just doubled down. Let me be clear, Mark is the eldest, but he's adopted too. He's biologically my cousin. 2 of his 4 kids are stepchildren. Julie is a widow. His hypocrisy was breathtaking. So, I had Vivi send over all the evidence she'd deleted off her phone, combined it with my own screenshots, and sent it all to my mom. I snitched so hard. I don't have time for this crap. I don't know what Mom said to him, but she called me back a few hours later and told me to let her know if he ever decided to show his whole ass again. She talked to Vivi on speaker while I made us treats for bed, telling her how much she loved her, that Uncle Mark was being a jerk, and if he or Julie ever bothered us again, to tell her. Then the 4th of July arrived. It rained like crazy, so my barbecue ended up being just a handful of close family and friends. Vivi was happy, kicking her other uncles, but at Mario Kart. The adults were drinking, dancing, watching the rain when they walked in. Mark, Julie, and their 4 kids. Julie strolled right up to me, holding a side dish, and asked where she could put it. I was stunned. Sorry, what? I asked her what she was doing here. Apparently, my dear brother hadn't bothered to tell her about our spat, or that their invitation was revoked. She looked genuinely shocked. I was livid, but the kids were happy, and Vivi was pointedly ignoring Mark, who had just tried to say hello to her. When he got no answer, he threw his hands up and grumbled. So much for manners. My other brother, Zeke, just gave him a quiet, yo, and started talking to him. I could hear Mark arguing, but Zeke just kept his hand on his shoulder. I looked at Julie, who was clearly in panic/fix-it mode. I told her, listen, if they want to leave the kids here for a couple hours, that's fine. But my brother is not welcome in my home, so you'll have to be the one to pick them up. She thanked me, went to Mark, who now had both my other brothers talking to him. They all walked him out. I heard him say, kids, let's go, but Julie just said, kids, I'll be back by 3. Be good, and physically pulled Mark out. I sent him a text reminding him not to speak to my child, and that he wasn't welcome in my home until he apologized for all the verbal abuse and fixed his attitude about Vivi. My stepdad and mom arrived not long after. When Dad heard what happened, he went straight to the porch, pipe in hand, and sat right next to the front door, a silent, protective sentinel. Mom arranged with Julie that she'd take the kids home later. We managed to have a good time. The next day was Sunday. My mom had asked we all go to church this week. She warned me Mark might be there. I warned Vivi. Vivi said it was fine. I told Mom it was fine, but Mark needed to give Vivi a wide berth. And I texted Mark, stay away from my child. His reply? I don't need reminders. Okay then. Service went fine. I'm not really a church person, but Vivi had a solo and sang beautifully. This mama was happy. After, there was food in the event hall, and Vivi asked if she could stay and chat with her friends. Sure, I said, have fun. All was well for about 45 minutes. I was sitting with my stepdad and one of my brothers when Mark came over to say his goodbyes. Everyone got a hug but me. Fine by me. He said, Kitty did a good job up there. And I just said, who? I could see the moment he knew he'd screwed up. I don't know if he meant to say Kitty or not, and I don't rightly care. I repeated, who? And he muttered, Vivica. I nodded. That is her name. Same name she's had the whole time. Julie was trying to get him to leave, and he was almost out the door when Vivi and her friends came up. She told me later she saw her uncle come up and not hug me, and that made her mad. So, she came up to stand by me. I told her I was grown and didn't need her to defend me, that it was my job to protect her. She just nodded. Kids. Mark complimented Vivi, and she gave a very plain thanks, then asked if I was ready to go. I said, sure if you are. Later, Mark sent me a short text telling me I had embarrassed him and our whole family with my show at church. He was upset because we don't need to make our issues everyone's business at church, and that I don't even go to church, so why invade his safe spaces? He called me immature and said I needed to stay away from his kids, so I didn't teach them such poor manners. I didn't even respond. Vivi and I headed to my mom's for lunch. My stepdad told me Mark had outright refused to come when he heard I'd be there. Mark had told our parents he wouldn't be anywhere I was. My reply? Does he promise? I told my dad if Mark was going to be this way, we could just go full no contact. I didn't have patience for this nonsense, and that also meant I wouldn't be helping out next time he needed anything. I was out. Dad got quiet. He said he understood, but to remember that Mark's kids didn't do anything. He was okay if I wanted to stick it to Mark, but asked I didn't friendly fire on the children. I told him we'd talk when we got there. He was going to bring up our family vacation, for which I'd taken care of the hotel and passes because my job is in that industry. I'm usually the go-to for these things. We were supposed to go the first week of August. We try to do one big extended family vacation a year. We'd see how this was going to go. It was a lot, and frankly, I was exhausted. The family gathering that weekend turned out to be enlightening. Vivi was off playing with her cousins, as usual. I was sitting on the lawn with my stepdad and Zeke. Julie came straight to me. She asked if everything was all right. I told her my issue was with Mark, but that her words about my kid and single parents still sat with me. We talked. Julie, it turns out, was also a product of a single-parent home. I didn't know this. Both her parents were dead, as far as I knew. She admitted she strongly felt kids needed a mother and a father in the house. But she also conceded that Vivi was a good kid, and she thought I was doing a good job. When Mark was in his moment, she'd just learned to stay out of the way. I didn't pry, but I asked if she was okay. She gave me a look that just said, "Don't even go there." So I backed off. I told her I loved her kids and would do all I could for them. But Mark was actively working on his ticket to NC Foreverville. I love him, but I don't like him, and he's a real and present threat to Vivi and her well-being. She understood. She hoped we could still get along for the kids' sake. She then confided that she and Mark had been having trouble lately. Her daughter, Suddy, and Mark were clashing a lot. Apparently, Suddy is just like her bio dad, stubborn. A good kid, kind heart, but sensitive. Julie said Suddy is an empath and expects everyone else to be, too. I handed her a beer, curious. This was the most Julie had ever opened up to me about her home life. I wanted the tea. She admitted that she and Mark had been at odds over jointly raising the kids. Suddy calls him dad, and is the only stepchild to do so, but they argue constantly. Recently, Suddy said she hated him and refused to even look him in the eye. Julie's eyes welled up. It had been a lot. And after Mom talked to him, he'd just been so closed off. I managed to gather that when Mom called Mark, she immediately got to the point, saying something like, "Who does he think he is, bullying a child, my grandchild?" Like I wouldn't take issue with it. He tried to say something, but Mom kept talking, finally asking him why he didn't like Vivi. He got offended, said he loved her, wanted her to make something of herself. But Mom made it clear, if he was to interact with Vivi, he needed to follow my rules, just as I'd respected his rules with his kids. Julie said Mom verbatim told him, "Not your house, ain't your rules." And then Mom told him how disappointed she was that he was treating an adopted child the way he hated being treated. Julie didn't know much after that. It became a full-blown fight between them. The biggest bombshell? Mark had never told her he was adopted, which is insane to me because it's no state secret. We don't even use the word adopted in our family. By bio rules, I'm my mother's only daughter, Zeke her only son. We're no strangers to the concept of chosen family. But Julie, by her account, wasn't just surprised, she was hurt. She actually believed Mark was my biological father's son, making my mother his stepmom. No, Mom is biologically his aunt. His mother passed away during his birth. From what I know, she was amazingly sweet and knew the birth could be life-threatening, so she'd gotten paperwork in place for my mother to take custody if anything happened. I told Julie as much. She went pale. Mark said this about my youngest brother, she choked out, and made it all seem like he, Mark, and I were the full biological siblings and fighting. He made it out that everyone else is adopted. It's such a confusing web of lies. I'm genuinely not even sure I have it right. Julie spent the rest of the time getting drunk. Mom let her stay over. Dad called Mark, telling him Julie and the kids were staying with us. It's summer. The kids would be fine with Mom and Poppy's pool. Mom got Julie to the guest room, and I started asking questions. What the hell was with Mark? Why was this happening? He wasn't always like this. I was so pissed. You don't have to believe me, but I'm generally very even keel. I tend to want to calmly talk it out one-on-one, not make a scene. But this was my kid. I'd been calm enough. And this was her uncle. We could try to dance around each other, but this would come to a head eventually. And Vivi loves her cousins. This would hurt her much more than it would hurt me or him. And screw him if his ego was worth more than my child's well-being. He is no brother of mine. Anyone who is out to hurt Vivi is not family. I may not have birthed her, but I damn well love her, and I won't be that parent who forces her to make nice for some family when that family causes her pain. Mom got quiet. Dad made this angry/sad/something face and walked off. Mom pulled me into the backyard. She wasn't telling me any of this to excuse Mark, she said, but she felt some of it was her fault. Mark had come to her about his bio parents. When he found out his father had abandoned them, he became very upset. Mom said he was asking because my father, Mark's adoptive father, was distant with him. She said my dad got better as time went on, but he had used the phrase stray kitten a couple of times. I felt bad for him. I do. But it's not enough for me to feel like I need to fix this. I told her it was sad, but he'd kept his origin a secret from his own wife, and his stepchildren hated him. This was already out of control. Him bullying my kid was a symptom of it, but even still, he didn't get a pass. She agreed. She said she'd made a choice. The vacation could still happen with my help, but Mark would no longer be invited. Julie was permitted, but under strict rules, and the kids were coming. I could pull the plug if I wanted, and it could just be a sleepover at her place with the kids, and all the parents could enjoy kid-free nights. I told her I'd tell her by Tuesday. Vivi was at a sleepover with her best friend. I had work to do. I had a lot on my mind, but I figured I owed an update. I was just tired, mostly, but I wasn't backing down. Mom said she'd talk to Mark again, but I said that even if he stopped his insults, I'd need an apology to Vivi and for him to find help. I love Mark, and I feel for him because I feel like he's just sad now. He feels alone. He's not. He's been my brother forever, family since before I was born. I will always love him, but he's being a prick. And if he's not a safe person for my kid, he isn't allowed near us. Plain and simple. I won't pretend this is easy. It's torture. We, as a family, are really close, but I can't torment my own child and obligate her to be around a person who mistreats her. I will not teach her to be small for bullies, even if the bully is family. An hour ago, I got this text from him. Okay, you win. I didn't answer. Then, please, expletive, I can't take it anymore. Still no response. Then, after 5 missed calls, I get it. I'm not your brother. Okay, but I am family. Can you recognize that? I didn't treat V good. Sorry, she's great. Okay, love you. Talk to me. I need to talk to you. I still didn't reply. And then he sent, Mom has my kids, so I'm going to watch that Megan too. Oh, movie a day exists a bit. I know I will seem like bad parent, and I own that. I just need a second. I am due to pick her up in a few hours. So here I am waiting to go in the theater. He's hurting. I know he is. But I have to focus on Vivi. That night, the real explosion happened. Vivi was thankfully not home for any of it. Mom had her until her sleepover, and she was going to be at a friend's for a while. I took the time to enjoy some peace, watched Bob's Burgers, Don't Judge Me, and drank some whiskey. I was letting myself feel my feelings about it all, not worrying about Vivi stumbling in on me being upset. She's 13 going on 45, but I don't want to burden her with worrying about me. Truth is, all of this hurt like hell. I love my brother, and his behavior was painful. Cutting him off? That's painful too. It was a shame it had all come to this. Then, there was banging on the door. Aggressive banging. I grabbed my baseball bat and looked through my doorbell cam. It was Mark. He was drunk and crying. I spoke with him through the doorbell cam while texting my family that he was here. We had a long, agonizing talk while Zeke was on his way to come get him. I listened as he complained that I loved my brat more than him. I asked him how the hell he expected a mother not to protect her kid. We argued, and he said some truly nasty things. But then, it finally came out. He'd been bullied by some family members and kids in school when he was younger. He was told he wouldn't amount to anything, and that's why he worked so hard to get his degrees and his job. Listen, it was awful to hear what he went through, from what I could gather through his drunken ramblings. It was something no kid should ever go through. But how the hell does that excuse the way he's come at my child and at me? How does it make it okay that my daughter is asking if she's a bad person because he's put it in her head that she's some unwanted stray? He didn't argue. He actually apologized. He said he couldn't survive without family and begged me not to abandon him, that he would do better. He pleaded with me not to turn everyone against him. Zeke pulled up. He told me to keep the door locked. Mark swung at him. They scuffled on my porch for about 10 seconds before Mark just stopped. He just sat down, sobbing. It was messy. Zeke told me not to worry, and he'd catch up with me tomorrow. He texted me later in a group chat with our other brother, Zion, and my sister, Zaria. Zion had wanted to find out what was making Mark act out this way, so they'd been having drinks at a local bar. Mark told Zion about being abused, about being called the stray kitten. He always felt like he wasn't really family, especially when we all started to grow up, get married, have kids. He wanted things the way they were, but now his family was breaking apart. Then Zaria moved in with her girlfriend, and my parents talked about selling the house for a smaller one now that all the kids were out. Then, apparently, Suddy told him he wasn't her real dad in an argument. And Julie had started talking about a trial separation. I had no context for these things, just that they'd happened. And then, he and I started bickering, as Mark put it. And now it had become everyone turning against him. And he was being iced out and abandoned. Zion, who's a psychologist, told Mark he needed therapy. Mark got pissed and stormed out. Then, an hour later, he was on my porch. When Zeke got to him, he poured Mark into the car, and Mark ranted that he hated himself, and now everyone else did too. He started to talk about dark things, self-harm. Zeke decided to take him to mom and dad. Mark sobered up. Julie read him the riot act for disappearing and acting out. She made it clear she and the kids would be at the house, and he needed to stay away for at least a week. Dad said Mark was broken, wouldn't even speak more than 3 words at a time. He'd just been laying around and took time off work. We'd all essentially given him an ultimatum. Therapy, if he wanted his marriage saved, if he wanted to be permitted near me and not excluded from family events I hosted or paid for, and to continue to have help from mom and dad. He just kept saying fine, and not much else. He sent me one text a moment ago. Sorry, and nothing else. I texted my parents. They said he was physically okay, just on his laptop. I'm worried about my brother, but I can't get distracted. Vivi is my focus. She, too, needs therapy now. I want to get her in before the family vacation if possible, but I don't know if it's possible. I have a lot of research to do. I have tonight and tomorrow with the house to myself as Vivi is enjoying her time at a friend's and wants to stay over again. Then they're on a sleepover field trip tomorrow night. I'll take tonight to research, maybe see a movie, and tomorrow check in with my family. It's a lot. I'm texting Julie now to see about my nieces and nephews. I just want this all to be over. Eventually, things started to shift, slowly, painfully. My brother finally agreed to our terms. He sent a written apology to my home, via mail, addressed to Vivi. Because of how it was written, I only gave her the last page, just 5 lines of a genuine apology. The rest of the letter was full of reasons and excuses that she didn't need to see. I told her this, and that when she's 18, if she wants to read it, that's her choice. I don't believe in hiding things. But she's a child now, so for now, into the vault it goes. I received my own letter via mail, which is why I know he's now seeking help. The idea of losing his wife and kids had truly broken him, he said. He realized he had a lot of love for me, of course, but also a lot of resentment. This needed some background. I was a difficult pregnancy. He saw mom largely in pain or discomfort at least weekly, me being the cause. And the fact that I was coming, the girl mom greatly wanted, made him resent me. But we became close. I loved him, idolized him even. We were tight until I met my late husband. He hated him from the start, and he admits that. The letter said his hate was less about him not sharing opinions with my husband, and more because my attention was then on my husband, my boyfriend at the time, and then later on his daughter, Vivi. I talked to mom on an unrelated call, and she asked if I'd gotten the letters. I said I did, and I read her Vivi's letter back to him. My kid is so strong. She forgave her uncle, but she will not forget, and she does not want him around her. She does not trust him, but will be civil. He is not entitled to her life. She noted that I am on her side, as are her grandparents, my parents. She expressed disappointment in him for not making better choices and asserted her hope that he is kinder to his own kids. She hasn't sent this letter yet, but that's the summary of it. I've told my mom that vacation is happening, but Mark is not invited. I've also spoken to Julie. We're okay. She will be at vacation with the kids. My rage has sort of given way to just sadness and exhaustion. Good thing my kid is strong as hell, in addition to her kind heart, but I am not taking that for granted. Therapy and communication are always key, and I'm not alone. My other siblings have stepped up and have been helping out. I don't feel so alone now. If anything, I feel smothered sometimes. So, I guess we're just taking it one day at a time. It helps now that I've written all of this out. And that brings us to now, a few months later, as we continue to heal. Apparently, this story has been read by quite a few people, including my family. Suddy found my story, and it snowballed, so everyone is basically up to speed, including Mark. He even got an account and started reading the comments. He was massively hurt by how he was being viewed, but he also accepted it. He's since been doing therapy and is in a support group, while also getting sober. He and Julie are in couples counseling, and he's still at my parents'. Our original plans for an August vacation got pushed back due to everything, plus a family wedding. We'll be taking our trip over Thanksgiving week instead, which is nearly upon us. We talked about possibly allowing Mark to come. I didn't even have to give my 2 cents because he simply said he shouldn't go and won't. Instead, he and his support group will be doing community service work in our city. One of my cousins who can't come on the trip will help him house sit and also help Mark around his sobriety. He's now 2 months sober. We are very proud of his progress, but the trip is at a resort with a large bar. I couldn't find another hotel or B&B due to our last-minute date change. And Mark doesn't want the stress of travel, navigating the family relationships as they are slowly being rebuilt, and then being tempted with a large bar. He also wants to try again when he's a year sober. Vivi is doing well and is in a new school. She likes it fine and has friends, but she's really into clubs and her extracurriculars. She's even super into theater now and is in an after-school art group. I honestly don't know how she's managing near-perfect grades with all this going on, but she is. I think it helps that if she gets on her roll, she gets to pick a new game out for her computer, but if she gets straight A's, she's getting the newest Sims game bundle. The family is still healing. It was so much drama, and it was exhausting. It's been fairly uneventful for a little while, so we're all breathing some rare air right now. It's like, is this peace? We're not quite at the dog in the fire sipping tea saying this is fine stage, but we're getting there. Mark and I are still a bit strained. Vivi was so quick to forgive her uncle, but I have more reservations. He is working to earn trust back, but we've had many long talks, and he's aware that this is a fragile thing, our relationship. He's very aware that if he backslides, I won't have mercy. He still isn't around any of the kids without one of us adults, and he's been genuinely quiet and more introspective. We talk openly with other family members as a whole about how we all have been hurt and are healing, how the stigma around non-blood family needs to end. Family is family. Vivi is no less my child or my parents' grandchild, simply because of the circumstances of her coming to us. Same for Mark. Unless things take a real nosedive, I don't think my saga belongs out here anymore. I'm keeping the account active, though, as I've found so many helpful communities that I do want to continue reading and gleaning from. Thanks for letting me vent and for helping me keep even a small grip on my sanity. It really does make a difference. I'm excited for a much-needed vacation with my amazing daughter.